Welcome back, everyone, to Berlin and our coverage of the European LCS. Our next matchup is between two teams fighting neck and neck in the race for playoffs. Schalke 04 and Roccat. What a game when we look at the standings and look how close they are. Only one game apart, and Schalke only one win ahead of Roccat. Now, that isn't that much, but I would say their win versus G2 counts as a lot to me because they absolutely decimated G2 esports last week.
Yeah, I mean, Schalke trying to make a case for themselves to maybe even enter into that top 3 and knock G2 out of the running, but they're also very much in contention with Roccat for that final spot into playoffs.
That they are. VandeR was a monster, by the way, in that game ender.
Yeah, no, he absolutely took over, and this is something that he's done pretty much the entire split. When Schalke are winning games, it's off the back of VandeR leaving that bottom lane, teaming up with Amazing, and making plays happen all around the map.
Now, Dan, for how much we talk about the year of the Duck, I think the key element here is that it's not just him, right? All these members have the potential to step up, and they are instrumental in Schalke's chances for playoffs.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, just like you're talking about VandeR, I feel like a lot of people who aren't Nukeduck are going a little bit unsung right now as being a part of Schalke's success, but you don't go from being the clear kind of number 4 team in the EU LCS, which I feel like Schalke is right now, without the whole team working together as a cohesive unit.
And this is what is so important. They didn't make playoffs in spring. It's all on the line for them in summer. And in that week where they were up against Fnatic and G2, they managed to go 1-1. For me, that is a huge step. But now it is about continuing that success. And to do that, they have to beat Roccat. Now, Roccat, there's a lot of talk about the curse or the blessing of going 1-1 every single week. But if you look at their victories, there's a lot to be positive about.
Yeah, there definitely is, and I think you have to look at Memento, who's really the driving force in the early game behind those victories for the team. But that's not, one player isn't going to get you that far into playoffs, isn't going to make you into that league and then into the semifinals. You got to look to other places on the map to carry.
That is true. Let's, before we think about who that might be, also look at the matches that they have in the next couple of weeks. I've said only 3 weeks before playoffs, and these are their next 4 opponents: Schalke, Giants, Splice, and the Unicorns of Love. What do you guys think?
I mean, these are really important must-win matches for them, because you look at the 2 games they play in week 9, that's against Misfits and Fnatic, 2 games that are going to be very difficult for them to pick up, whereas these matches here against Schalke and Splice specifically, those are the teams they're competing with for playoffs positions, and then Giants and Unicorns, those ones underneath they have to overcome.
Exactly. You can't drop a game to one of these lower teams down in the standings if you are fighting for the last spot in playoffs, and especially that Splice matchup, which could be the team that you are fighting for the very last spot.
Great point. Now, you said it already. We talk so much about Memento in this team as he has the catalyst for the early game, but it isn't going to be enough if they want to make it to playoffs. I think that's been clear. Who else are we looking at? Is it this guy in the top lane?
Yeah, for me, it's Prophet in the top lane, specifically because Roccat continued to give him champions where he's supposed to carry. He's played carry champs in 2/3 of his games, and in wins, his stats look pretty good towards the top end of the league, but in losses, it's not quite as impressive, so I need to see him step up across all games.
Yeah, for me, I've got to look more towards the other side of the map in the bot lane, Norskeren. I think he's been a really fun player to watch above all else, because when you put him on these playmaking champions specifically, the Pyke has been a standout for me. I feel like he's one of the best Pikes in the entire EU LCS. And when Roccat have things going, when the gears are all turning together, we've mentioned Memento before about how he plays the map.
I'm right there, because I am so happy that you brought up Norskeren, because we talked a lot about the stakes, but this is the Battle of Norway. Nukeduck versus Norskeren. And since we are the European LCS, we think it's only natural that we also give a breakdown to our viewers about the history and the culture of our pro players' home countries, in this case, Norway. And for that, I am also joined by our Norwegian Viking, Andre Viggo Dagsson.
Halleisen!
Indeed. Oh, I'm so excited. This is a totally serious and extremely comprehensive history and breakdown of the Kingdom of Norway. First and foremost, where is Norway on the map? It is right here. One of my students, M. Linga, I'm not going to name him, is always hacking my computer. Obviously, Norway is right here, and the capital of Norway is Oslo. Norway is 385,252 square kilometers big, which in square miles for you Americans is, I don't care, you should look it up yourself, because we are in Europe. They have a population of 5,295,719, which is roughly half of Belgium and also roughly 16 times smaller than Germany. However, it is about the same as Denmark. Now, we also got a comment sent in to help us with this introduction of Norway coming from a certain Emlinga. Let's see. Pretty sure Denmark was below to Norway longer than it was a thing on its own.
Nej, og at nej, Deficio!
No, Emlinga, that is definitely not true, but we do have some other fun facts about Norway. The cheese slicer was invented in Norway in 1925 by Thor Björklund. And interestingly, that is roughly 100 years before the actual invention of cheese. Furthermore, Norway is also very successful when it comes to the Winter Olympics. They historically hold the most medals there. Now, despite the cheese slicer, the Winter Olympics and the Vikings, the true pride of Norway is right here in the EU LCS studio on stage right now. It's Nukeduck versus Norskeren. Now, first up, the man in the mid lane for Schalke, Nukeduck. He is hailing from the beautiful south of Norway, the city of Arendal. And here we see a picture from his district.
Italy.
Wonderful. Italy might be there, but what is also there is ducks. And we're talking about the man in the mid lane. So ducks are very important in the story of where he grew up as well. Now then, his opponent, Norskeren, the pride of northern Norway. He is from the city of Fauske in the Salten district in Nordland County.
Velkommen til Nordland.
Yes, indeed. Now, tonight, these two face off in our Battle of Norway. Schalke versus Roccat, Norskeren versus Nukeduck.
Alt for Norge!
Fantastic. And to now more introduce this matchup, let's listen to the Norwegian national anthem.
Ja, vi elsker dette landet som det stiger fremfor. That's enough, I think. Martin, why have we never had an introduction like that for Denmark? And
everyone knows Denmark. It's like the most famous country in the world.
The battle for Norway, Norskeren versus Nukeduck. I wanted to put it on a scale and figure out from a scale of Nico the Pico to Nukeduck, where does Norskeren rank? We'll have to ask Twitter to find that one out. Deficio, we're about to jump into game. Schalke 04. They got something to prove. Last week, the 1-1 against Fnatic G2 and Roccat have been this completely split team. That's so hard to get serious again after that.
I just didn't know why Vedius was in this. He just stood there.
That wasn't Vedius. That was a Viking.
That's true. I'm sorry.
Andre Vizicsacsi. I can't remember his name.
Yeah, but, whatever that name was.
Let's bring us back. Before we jump in to pick some bans, we do have a small pause for one of the players on Schalke. It is a personal delay. I'll give you an update on that as I can. But this gives us a few minutes to reset, to refresh our minds.
Yes.
Roccat are a team that are inconsistent. They win everything when they're ahead of 15. They lose everything when they're behind at 15. And Schalke, dude, I can't read them. They get smashed by Fnatic and then they smash G2. Like, how are you meant to understand either of these teams?
Well, I mean, you're meant to understand that Fnatic is right now the best performing team in Europe. G2 is not. And Schalke beat G2 because Schalke, I think, showed last week that they can definitely fight for the top standings. They need to prove that today. Here's the scary thing when you hype up Schalke is it can backfire pretty hard on you. Roccat, just say 1-1, and that's what they do every single week.
You just have to guess the coin flip.
Yeah, you got to guess which one it is. I think just what's interesting again for me with this game is it's the two teams right near each other in the standings for playoffs. There's a good chance one of them will not make playoffs. And a game like this, also due to tiebreakers, is even more important than normally.
And that just means so much more pressure on the teams. A little difficult situation, you mentioned it. Tiebreakers coming into play. Schalke are 7 wins, 5 losses. Roccat 6 wins, 6 losses. So they're right next to one another in the standings. Let's turn our attention to draft. Camille knocks it off the table. 2 junglers already gone.
Okay, the Camille pick. It's been a good one from Memento's side. So I think the ban does make... That's the second Memento ban as well. Does he maybe get the hint at this point that Schalke are looking to ban out early junglers against Memento? It's 4 jungle bans so far.
I mean, I definitely feel a little bit like a broken record this split. Memento is one of the early game impactors, but Aatrox still open, Zoe's still open, and Aatrox will be the one that goes.
5 jungle bans. I will say this benefits Schalke more than Roccat because I think putting Amazing on just a tank is actually fine. It's kind of what you want as Schalke. Putting Memento on a tank is not what you want as Roccat. You need something where he can gank and get kills. So this is a draft where all the early aggressive junglers have been removed. And there's still obviously things you can play, but
Yeah.
I think this does make a lot of sense as a strategy. Looking at him at Memento then and the rest of his champ pool here, he had the one Hecarim game at the start of the split. That was really bad.
We'll forget about that.
Then he had 2 Graves games, and everything else he's played is banned. Nocturne, Kindred, Camille, Trundle, and Sejuani taken away.
All right, so interesting start then. This Gragas and Tahm Kench are locked in. Do you think this is a Gragas for Memento, a Gragas for Profit? Or do you think it'll flex as the draft plays out?
It will definitely flex. Remember, as I said in the last draft, Europe loves the early Gragas.
Yep.
Gives so much flexibility for them in the draft. Tahm Kench as well, coming in once again in the first rotation. I don't know if the PBE nerfs are going to go through or not. There's one giving the double cooldown on Devour, you know, will really hurt him. But on 8-14, nothing has happened to the good old Kenchi, and he gets picked every game.
Exactly. We're seeing that showing up. The Gragas, Tahm Kench both appeared in the previous game. So on opposite ends, and this will now be a Ryze locked in. This could be for upset, this could be for Nukeduck.
Yeah, normally when we've seen the Ryze, it's gone down to upset in the bottom lane. But of course, as you highlight, Nukeduck could take it for himself. We know that Orianna is going mid for Roccat. We are not the LPL where Orianna goes bot lane. At least we
What if we get a surprise and Tahm Kench goes to Profit? I mean, I don't think so. Respect ban to Zed, by the way. Zed was played by Nukeduck last week against G2.
It was really good.
He went 6-0-4. It was one of those champions, those assassins that we've been hearing about or thinking about.
It was a statement game for Schalke and Nukeduck.
Yep.
He was against Perks. He saw the Yasuo. He picked the Zed against it. While he did not obviously shut down Perks on his own, the Zed pick ended up being really good at shutting down Jankos whenever he tried to walk into a river and got ahead because of it.
And really importantly to me, Deficio, it signals that Roccat believe Upset is taking that Ryze. With Zed and Yasuo both taken off the table and 2 of Nukeduck's most played champions. 3 games on that Yasuo this split, then the one on Zed. And the Nukeduck's played only 1 of every other champion, including the likes of Kayle and Lulu this split.
Getting a little bit scared though on the side of Roccat. Not that their picks aren't good or anything. Like, they're all actually really, really strong picks in the current meta. But it's not a lot of early snowball yet.
Okay.
And you said it yourself. If this team is behind at 15 minutes, they've lost every game they played. This team have found success through early strong lanes with a strong early jungler. Whenever they played scaling, it's looked bad for these guys. There is a lot of scaling on the side. Like, the Jhin with Halo Blades in the early game is really not that scary. Like, he doesn't really just take you down in lane super hard. Halo Blades is a scaling rune more than anything. There's a Chachi Rumble. It's gonna be Nukeduck with the Ryze in the mid lane. And then you get to super safe bot lane from Schalke.
Ezreal, Braum, bottom lane. Vizicsacsi's played 1 game of Rumble this split. He won it. He had a 12 KDA, and I'd like to remind everyone that Teemo bot lane in LCK is currently undefeated. It is a thing, but it was played in the ADC position, if I recall correctly.
Yes, it was.
And will be swapped away. So the final pick from Roccat will indicate Memento taking Gragas into the jungle, Mundo up top, and Roccat, they're saying, let's go late. Let's scale. I don't want to use the word gamble, that's not the right word, but
But it's a gamble for Roccat.
Let's concede the ability or the team comp to make very big, strong plays early.
Yes. Roccat, I'm sure this is a style they really want to be able to play as well. Once you go into playoffs, you want more than just a single play style you're successful with. This is one of the most important games they've played all split long. You need to make sure Schalke does not suddenly end up 2 wins ahead of you and with an advantage in the potential tiebreaker that could happen later. Because you're fighting teams like Splice, who just won earlier today, Vitality as well, who just went 2-0 with Kickis. Like, you cannot afford to fall behind here as Rocket's sitting on 6 wins. You need to get in that playoff spot and kick someone else out. And now they're going away from what has worked for this team so often. It's not early game focused. You can gank on Gragas 100%, but you don't look at Mundo, Tahm Kench, Orianna and think to yourself, wow, this team will just stomp the laning phase completely and run over the enemy team. It's strong team fighting, it's great late game, but it's not Rocket's normal style.
It is not, and on the other side, a little bit of that pivot, that Ryze, seeing it in Nukeduck's hands, it's somewhat anticipated to go to upset. You can see by the Zed and Yasuo ban. Let's see what these guys do. Roccat 7-5. They are currently holding place in 4th position. And in my mind, Deficio, in my mind, they are the 4th best team.
Schalke.
Schalke null fear. And when I look at them, I see them losing games to the likes of Fnatic, G2, Misfits. I don't see enough wins from them to say that they're going to break into the top 3, but I think the level of performance and their ability, to me, puts them above the other playoff contenders and the other, teams in that top 6. But I need to see them do it against Roccat, who have been this polarizing team themselves.
They need to prove consistency 100% on the side of Schalke. They beat all the bottom teams the last couple of weeks, and then they beat G2 Esports as a top team. That was great. It was a statement for them saying, we do belong at the top of the standings. Now they need to show they can do it again before people can fully buy into that Schalke is one of the best teams we have. For now, against Roccat, I think it is a very even matchup. Again, as I said before, I'm scared of Roccat going for a different kind of draft in a must-win game. But there is a chance they found a lot of success with this, and now they want to show they can do it on stage. And honestly, there's a lot of prove me wrong here. Schalke's side, they need to show they can consistently beat these teams.
Yep.
And Roccat needs to show they can actually play a comp that is not full early game.
Dude, Schalke called me out so badly on socials last week, because I have been predicting Schalke to win so many games, and I really believed in them in summer, and after seeing some games from Amazing, I bailed on them in the G2 game. I predicted G2 to win. And they were like, really? Now? You jump ship the day we take down G2?
But did you believe in them on Fnatic's game?
I did indeed.
Wow, you're insane.
I told you. I felt it, and then I really felt the pain. That's actually why I changed my prediction. So we'll need to see whether or not Schalke can show their consistency. Because interestingly enough, Roccat are a consistent team. This is a squad that we've mentioned a lot, When they get ahead early, they win. They don't, they lose.
I guess that is consistency,
right? You know what I mean? But,
and when they fall behind, they lose.
Exactly. It's 100% predictable. I've got some numbers to show you then in a little bit. But for now, let's look at these lanes, because Prophet is on that Mundo, being shoved in by Vizicacsi's Rumble. And of course, that's kind of expected in this matchup.
Yeah, if you're Prophet, you obviously want to get your first MR item under your belt, and then you don't really fear the Rumble in a 1v1. Chachi didn't want to join teamfights, but early on, Chachi will push. Mid lane, we know that the Orianna is the early shove against the Ryze, so some lanes trading back and forth. Nothing huge yet. I'm obviously looking also at bot lane, where Schalke are typically drafting kind of passive bot lanes and saying we don't really want to visit that lane. They've actually turned more towards the 2 solo laners, which I think has been a good change for them. Upset is not the greatest laning AD carry. He's always actually favored playing towards the late game on his side.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, you talked about those lanes and where these teams prioritize. I actually have those stats ready just to show you for Roccat. First of all, 6-0, as we mentioned, went ahead early. 0-6 with the deficit. Very interestingly, deaths at 15. One of the higher, 5 deaths. See Nukeduck and Blanc trading significantly.
And their thing all the way to the right was the one that stood out the most to me when we looked at these stats. Because this team, due to the comps where they often are very snowball focused, when they fall behind, the only way out is to fight more. And when that's your only way out and you're already behind, you tend to just lose more fights and die more. They have the second highest amount of deaths at 15 in their losses.
Yeah.
And they're 6-6 in the league. They're not a bottom team.
No, they're not, but they die more than them at times.
They also fight more.
And one of the big things that unlocks these Roccat wins and unlocks the ability to take over the later stages of the game is Prophet. We see him potentially being jumped on as Amazing is waiting. And look at Prophet's stats in his wins versus his losses. The damage per minute goes up, KDA goes up. Importantly, CSD is positive as well. And I wonder if Amazing chose this pathing route to look for an opportunity, potentially, if it was available.
Yeah, I mean, it's an early game Mundo, right? You can punish him. I don't think Prophet is looking at the same kind of numbers in this game when he's not on a carry. He's been one of those top laners who stuck to a lot of carries. They tried to play a bit towards his lane with Memento and actually found good success with it, as we showed here. Yeah. And I think Prophet, out of all the 3 carries on Roccat, when he gets ahead, he's had the most impact on the rest of the map. Because he's actually been pretty good at roaming. We heard in the comms from last week that we showed that he's also making a lot of the big macro calls. And that gets way easier if you're ahead and if you have full control of your lane. To then say, okay, where can we do something next as a team? It's really difficult if you're behind and you're just stuck under a turret trying to survive every single time.
And on the bright side, when you are playing Mundo in the later stages of the game, your decision-making is fairly linear. Yeah. You get a lot of time to make those calls. We know Memento is very impactful in the early game for Roccat and has been historically. Bit of the coin flip jungler, either can win you or lose you games. And Prophet, as we found out, not only from listening to the comms, but reaching out and speaking to the Roccat organization, they really give us some more insights into how much of a leader Prophet is. one of the more vocal guys, one of the shot callers for the team, especially as the game plays out. So we've been looking at him under a slightly different lens over the last few weeks because Roccat are this team that we actually used to call a talent factory. You know, they fundamentally develop and forge talent, bring them up. Prophet, you know, a former SK team member.
Oh, you said it. There you go.
But he's, you know, he didn't find as much success in Europe.
Oh, no.
Until playing on this Roccat line.
I absolutely love the Prophet story of him coming to Europe, and especially his time on NIP, where, you know, in some of these interviews, he's just talking about how he just wants to win a game so he can try and high-five the fans.
Yep.
Like, he sits there every time, he keeps losing, and he just wants to try and do it at least once. And then when they won that first game, he was so happy. And you just can't help but, like, feel, okay, that's well deserved.
Happy for him.
Yeah, you're so happy for him. And now when actually you start seeing a lot of success coming in for him with this team, and especially with him improving his communication, like, he's been a great asset for Roccat, and that's important because they needed a leader, and that became Prophet.
And Prophet is the man that's being ganked right now. Again, Schalke no fear, aware of this. Equalizer comes down, not the greatest placement from Chachi, but it will cut off the escape route. Sadism from Prophet by some time, but he beautifully executed tower dive for first blood.
Yeah, that's exactly what you want to see. Nukeduck didn't even have to use his ulti. The fact, of course, he had from his lane much earlier. You know, he got to go back, TP into lane. He felt like he was in full control, could push it out later, and then go for the first play here. That's actually what Exile tried to do last game, but failed to execute on the first roam. Well, this get pulled off by Schalke, and they get the flash from Prophet. Why not go back top lane?
And even more impressive, Deficio, it didn't cost any flashes, it didn't cost any teleports, just Schalke walking up straight through that control ward. And Amazing may not be done yet. Got the Glacial Prisoners looking at Nukeduck's positioning. Not going to jump in just yet. And Blanc will be able to escape with his life for now.
I mean, well, as we highlighted earlier, bot lane, farm fest.
Yep.
So Schalke can go top lane without losing anything.
Ezreal Jhin, Ezreal Braum into Jhin TK.
Yep.
These are pretty non-interactive duos. For the time being, HeaQ is out farming Upset, but there is a wave and a bit coming his way. So
I mean, the most important thing for Upset is don't lose your turret. The turret has taken 80 damage, so you are basically doing your job. You keep doing this, and you wait for Nukeduck and Amazing to either go top again, or make a play bot lane and then get you ahead. Like, there's two ways to do it.
Realm Warp is available. There's going to be a stun connecting onto Norskeren. He has Flash. Glacial Prison can come up. Norskeren still holding onto Flash. Gets stunned up. Not even going to use that Flash. Nukeduck, by the way, was moving towards the bottom lane. Didn't need to. And Amazing is playing fantastic. 8 minutes in, 2 kills already.
But it feels like there's no pressure from Roccat. This is why I get so scared when I see them draft more towards late game. Memento has not been able to find any opening in the game so far. If you look at the lanes he can gank, he can go top lane and gank for Mundo. Doesn't feel great. Maybe he can get something here.
Well, I don't think so yet. VandeR should be able to just hop away. Upset's looking for a stun. Norskeren, remember, has already returned to lane. VandeR gets rooted. This might be the turnaround. Devour comes out. VandeR jumps over to Upset. Flash is available to him. VandeR's over the wall. Memento turns his focus to Upset, and the barrel roll does some damage, but simply not enough. He has a teleport from Vizicsacsi. The curtains are called. Will he find a target? Equalizer's laid down, and nobody from Rocket's dead yet. Here's Chachi and Amazing. Flame Spitter picks up the third of the game. Now Chachi, overheating, turns his attention to the bush. Survives a few seconds longer. Burns down HeaQ, but not enough for the kill. Now Nukeduck tries to get something back. Shockwave's already been used. Roccat have got themselves 2 kills to close out the fight.
That was the best Roccat could have hoped for. They can't really go and gank any lanes properly, so instead Schalke walks into the blue buff, gets greedy after that first kill in the bottom lane, missing some ultimates. Nukeduck was not in position to fight just yet. Let's see the whole setup again. Remember now, Sejuani ult is on cooldown. Braum doesn't have ult, he's only level 5, and they actually stay trying to kill the ward here. They take so much damage. Good ulti from Memento. Nukeduck has not been able to join the fight yet, and because there's also a turret protecting Roccat, it's hard for Schalke to actually do anything. Chachi also, I believe that there's the ulti coming down for him. In the end, though, Schalke, they went all in.
They really did. A chaotic start. Really, you know, that was a fight on 3 fronts, and it ends with Schalke losing 1-2. Both Amazing as well as Vizicsacsi go down. There was a teleport committed from Vizicsacsi as well. So he's going to make his way back up top. And remember that Prophet, the tower dive, he conceded first blood. He's now made back up that CS difference.
That was huge for him. Like, he doesn't get ganked a second time. His flash is going to be ready in a couple of minutes. His stopwatch is ready now. Like, that was the perfect setup for Prophet without him even doing anything. It was actually Schalke who just walked away from him and fully committed on bottom side. Huge, huge win for Roccat, a team that was looking like they was just going to fall further and further behind. There's still a chance they can actually now do something and get back in this game here. Sjokz roaming down. Ulti is available. Blanc's flash is also there.
Okay, got the cleanse as well. Amazing's nearby. It's 1,000 gold lead for Schalke, 17k to 16k at 10 minutes. And I'm going to keep looking at those numbers as we get closer to 15 because Roccat, this time around, they've got some scaling. They've got some later game options if Schalke are unable to push ahead and make use of this Rumble Ezreal that will shine in the sort of 15 to 30 minute mark.
Yeah, I mean, Schalke's scaling is not terrible, but it gets difficult against 3 tanks on the side of Roccat. Also, Halo Blades Jhin in the late game, once he gets full items, man. Oh, he's so hard to shut down because he's so fast when he's moving around. He gets so much bonus AD as well. Storm Race is the first big item for him always. It's a little bit like Ezreal in the sense like on 1 and 2 items, like you actually get some pretty big spikes. You can play around Storm Race and then typically Rapid Fire coming in from him. The amount of damage he then deals on the first hit there is pretty huge, and he gets so difficult to catch right after. Prophet looking for something. Already gave up the Rift Hell though.
It looked like he took a lot of damage in lane. Just threw down the sadism for some sustain. Stick around, keep some pressure off of him. Although that may not last. All right, Flash is available. That equalizer was pretty good. Flashes over. Bristles engage, but Prophet goes golden using the stopwatch, buying just enough time. But look at the teleports. 3 of them on screen. Upset and VandeR are coming to play. That's already another one for Memento. HeaQ gets caught up as well by the Glacial Prison. Fisher, rather, and he's going to escape with his life. Realm Orb has been used by Nukeduck, and they're not going to chase much further. Use the dregs of the minion wave to take down this tower.
But Roccat, they can't play around topside with Gragas Mundo. It does not work for them. Prophet had his flash, had his stopwatch, he used everything, but he bought time for Gragas to join. That Gragas didn't have the damage to kill anyone. Schalke with TPs, that top lane turret, it swings. Schalke first good play, then Roccat got something back, and then return to the top lane. Sjokz is getting fed. Amazing is getting fed. First turret going down. Schalke love this current setup. And let's see, like, this normally if you have, like, I don't know, Java and Camille or something for Roccat, and you have a chance to counter gank here, that's a good chance you get a kill. You have Mundo Gragas. So while you can stopwatch him by time,
yeah, what are you going to do next?
There's nothing left for you to do. You're never going to kill anyone. The double TP is obviously make it even worse for these guys, but you saw the damage they did. They got charged to 50%. Done.
Man, instantaneous TPs there from Upset and VandeR. They get tower first blood for Schalke. Then as we come out of the replay, Amazing drops down the Rift Herald in the mid lane. Norskeren will be bringing up some backup, but the mid tower should fall on this wave. Upset needs to step forward, gets caught by the shockwave. Arcane shifts to safety. Now, admittedly, Roccat have done a very good job of clearing the wave. Shockwave helped a lot there, and I'm surprised the tower survived, but it is millimeters away from death if Schalke can just shove this next wave or 2 in.
Eventually, should be able to take it down. Prophet did get some damage on top side as well, which is kind of, again, the positive for him. Despite dying twice in lane, he's kept up whenever Schalke has gone to another lane. This one he obviously cost a lot in the mid lane turret, but that was Rift Hell gone now. Not giving anything. Roccat trying to buy more time for themselves. They will be behind at 15 minutes. We showed a graphic earlier.
We did.
0-6 went behind at 15.
Deficio. We've already broken a record today. The longest first blood of the Summer Split. Will Roccat put themselves in a position to pick up their first win when behind at 15 minutes with this great scaling comp?
I mean, it's one of the best scaling comps they've drafted so far in this split.
You're dodging the question, my friend.
I would say it's their best chance.
Okay, I'll accept that. I'll accept that.
Depending on what happens the next 40 seconds. As long as they don't give up more kills the next 40.
Okay, we'll see if the Goldie gets ahead. Amazing, by the way, 100% kill participation. 3, 1, and 2. Got himself his chilling, excuse me, the Cinder Hulk on his chilling smite. And of course,
could you just committed to the chilling smite and add a Cinder Hulk after?
I had this like brain fart. I'm like, it's a C, but it's the other C. I can't remember. But I really want to see Amazing setting up Nukeduck and Upset. Even Chachi, really, who's 1, 1, and 3. Got the Morellonomicon.
He's done it already, baby. You can't ask for much more.
And of course, Schalke, by the way, one of the teams that picks up a lot of wins when at a deficit at 15 minutes, as well as losing games with a deficit. So some of those question marks when you look at them. With the lead.
So you're saying that they either win or lose.
There we go. That's what I'm saying, if you break it down.
That's interesting.
It is indeed.
Is there any team that doesn't
Win or lose? Not at the moment.
There's one team.
Doesn't win or lose. There's one team that only loses.
That's true.
There we go. So it's not either choice.
Well, good for Schalke that he...
Can you guess which team it is?
No. No more quiz.
They're playing next. It's not G2. There is a 2 in their name.
H2K.
That's it.
You know, they're playing with Larson now in the mid lane. I'm pretty excited to see what he can do. I actually think it's going to be pretty interesting.
Well, a few more changes. See if they can step away from the 0-14 loss streak. If they go down, that is the other record that could be tied this weekend.
Which is currently Origin.
Origin, correct.
Yeah.
0-14. And second place is them at 12. But past 15 minutes, by the way, it's a 3,000 gold lead for Schalke. First items complete for everybody. And now Schalke are setting themselves up. Oh, that's a 3-man blast cone. Here comes Amazing. Glacial Prison is going to tag out as HeaQ manages to get spit back out. Memento stays alive for now. Amazing looks for Glacial Prison, buys some time. VandeR picks up the kill into Memento. Norskeren uses the cleanse. No flash available to him, and Grey Health keeps him alive. Just enough. That's not going to be enough for the kill. No additional support from Chachi or Nukeduck.
That was such a random setup. They all took the blast cone, I think, just to go down to the bottom lane and push it. And then they find VandeR. It's like, hey, wait a minute. I should fight this. And Amazing is there again, joining in to secure a kill for his team. Schalke should be able to get a lot of damage, and actually they'll get the entire bottom lane turret. They get Drake as well. It's going to be 3 out of turrets to 0. Scaling comp for Roccat is not looking good right now. They are so passive without Memento able to do something. He's tried a gank in the top lane, or counter gank in the top lane. Was never going to work, and that's about it.
And you have to then start looking and questioning, was it the right call to go for such a scaling type of composition? Maybe it was forced. Maybe with 5 jungle bans,
it made it harder.
Memento said, you know, what else can I do? But yeah, here was this blast cone. I mean, there was no vision.
No, they didn't see him. So that's just a little bit unlucky.
Oh, unlucky.
That's a little bit unlucky. I think maybe they just saw VandeR on the first ward up there just when he walked in range. But by then, they probably already clicked the blast cone.
It sucks so bad that we also caught that entire play.
I'm going to go back. I'm going to put vision on.
Okay, so while Deficio is checking out the vision.
Because I think they might have seen VandeR, thought we could surprise him in the brush. But obviously, he's nearby. Let's find out.
You go have a look at that. I'll talk a little bit about items because Schalke at 18 minutes are now pulling their gold lead even further. It's about 4,500. Nukeduck is pushing deep into this top quadrant while the rest of Schalke are pushing mid lane. Chachi's with them, so it's just like unrelented pressure from Schalke. And the man that has led it, the man that's been on the front the entire time has been amazing. Still, 100% kill participation for one of the more controversial figures in the EU LCS. This is a fantastic game.
A change that split the waters in the community. Some people said this is a good change for Schalke, this is what they need. Other people said no, Amazing is not going to be the answer. I think the split has been way better for Schalke, so we can definitely say it's helped to get a person that can actually kind of do things on his own, because VandeR said in an interview that the problem for them was they had to guide Pride Stalker around. Amazing doesn't need anyone to guide him. He'll probably yell at you if you try.
Yes.
Like, he wants to do things his way.
Not a huge fan of backseat driving.
It's definitely benefited Schalke to have him on the lineup, this game especially. By the way, just for the play, so we can wrap that one up. They just saw VandeR when they had already clicked the blast cone. So it definitely did not seem like, we're going to try and catch this guy. They realized, wait a minute, people are here. We have to run.
That is the definition of an oopsie.
Absolutely.
When you're mid-flight and you realize it's backfired. I am so impressed with Schalke's map play. Every time I look at the minimap, there is vision inside the jungle that Schalke are moving through. There are multiple champions pushing multiple lanes. Nukeduck is uncontested. Top teleports available for everybody. They shove up the wave bottom. Now there's deep vision inside Rocket's jungle, and Schalke are using the advantage they have exceptionally well.
It's looking like the G2 game, where Schalke got ahead in the early game, played 1-3-1. It was with a Z, not a Ryze, but they were really good at just keeping the game fairly slow and wait for a mistake. They didn't overforce. They didn't start tower diving randomly. They waited for the other team to then look for a bad fight, or one guy getting, caught in a sideline, and then they kill him, and then they take the objective. Prophet is going to fight Chachi now. This could be one of the mistakes they're looking for.
All right, let's take a look. Vizicsacsi was overheating, Still got flash available. There's no real support yet from Roccat, and you need Blanc and HeaQ to be in range. HeaQ has got those boosts of swiftness as well as the storm raises, but not a lot else yet. Still looking to scale up, and we're 20 minutes into the game. Every time I see a Mundo and a Gragas side by side, I'm like, that's great, you've got a great front line. And that's it, there's no follow-up, you know? I keep looking for Blanc Shockwave to come in and HeaQ.
But it's hard now when you're behind, and you have a group 5-man comp run at the enemy team, if you can. For team fighting, that is, obviously. And you're not going to be able to do that as long as Schalke push all 3 lanes. I will say a positive for Roccat is this Mundo in the side lane will hit this point now where he's not afraid of Chachi.
Yeah.
He's already there now. He has the MR he needs. So Roccat will start having a winning side lane, which is key to stop Schalke from just playing all 3 lanes all the time. It will force Schalke to start playing what's called 1-4, where Chachi, after he pushes his lane, he leaves and goes to mid lane and joins his team. And then it's Nukeduck, obviously sitting top lane. And then you have 4 players in mid, 1 top, and you start playing enemy jungle into Baron. That's kind of the setup they're looking for, because Chachi knows that eventually Prophet can just run him down.
But Deficio, it's so difficult for Prophet to make up the 5,000 gold deficit with that much pressure. Like the amount of
that was just one positive for Roccat, is that they will have, that's why you pick up Mundo here, so his late game is going to be extremely impactful as well. You know you're going to get pushed in early, but you're obviously trading that for the late game advantage in the side lane.
And you talked about being pushed in early. At the beginning of the game, I made a statement that to me, Schalke are like the number 4 team. I also look forward at the rest of the matches for the split that Schalke are playing. And I think to cement in my mind that they are definitely number 4 and potentially top 3, I think they need to perform exceptionally well against the likes of Misfits and Vitality. I think the other 4 games need to be like guaranteed wins if they are 4th. But if Schalke want to win me over as a top 3 contender, as a finals contender, their performances against Misfits and Vitality is what I'm going to be judging as we look to the postseason.
And I think for me, the goal for Schalke is just to show you're a playoff team. And then you can prove in playoff if you belong in the top or not. So when I look at the upcoming games, I'm actually not looking at necessarily the Misfits game. I'm more thinking this Roccat game is super key. They're right next to you in the standings. Vitality, Splice, exactly the same. They're the must-win games to show that you belong in playoffs. You're not going to get knocked out last minute. And once you are there, show me in a quarterfinal that you are good enough to then move into the top 4 here in the semifinal.
It's exciting to see the growth for Schalke. You know, Spring Split, it was
a train wreck.
There's a few exciting moments, but for the most part, it was a disappointing split. For the organization, the infrastructure, the players, the investment, and one change to the starting roster in Amazing Over Pride, and they are much closer to making it to the postseason this splits.
I'm also a little bit split then on Roccat, because I actually really want to see Roccat succeed as well. Like, I like what they tried to do in Spring Split, surprising us with these players. I thought, okay, if they can maybe just get slightly better in summer, they're going to lock in a playoff spot then, because they're going to be middle of the table, but towards the top side of the middle here. Sadly, Roccat has not really improved since Spring Split, and they kind of rely on the same things. So they feel a little bit stuck. And if they lose to Schalke now, they're 2 wins behind them. It gets tough to at least catch Schalke. But I think for Roccat, you still have what it takes to make it into playoffs. They're trying to play late game. Let's say they pull off great team fights in this game.
Okay, then what?
Then they're showing us suddenly a second style where at least the late game part of it is good.
For the first time in 13 games.
Yes, they obviously still need to work on the early game parts with this comp. But if they show us great team fighting, there's something we can latch onto and say, okay, potential second playstyle happening for Roccat. That can be important, because not every draft can be early game.
Yeah.
Again, that's why we had 3 jungle bans and a jungle first pick from Schalke.
Yeah, so important. VandeR is the target. Body slam, stand behind me. As VandeR gets out to safety. Memento's barrel actually knocked him away, so pulling that one ever so short. But look in the mid lane, Prophet is making his way up. Currently sitting outside of vision. Upset's got flash and arcane shift. Doesn't need either. Just so nonchalantly escapes the potential threat. But look, while all of Rockat's investment was in the jungle in the mid lane, Nukeduck takes the time to shove in top, send it to Blanc's waiting hands, and Schalke, they still maintain this pressure game in multiple lanes.
They do, but again, there's Prophet who got to push and move first. And again, that stops Schalke a little bit until Schalke are strong enough to go Baron. That's kind of the key thing we're waiting for. Roccat is clearly not up into anything. They're just farming. They're waiting for Schalke to pull the trigger.
I mean, they have to. It's so risky, isn't it, when you have this goal deficit. and you really need Blanc and HeaQ to be in position. It's a lot of autos onto this inner turret. The minions just about down, and one more auto from Nukeduck takes it out. Curtain Call tags 1 and 2, the third on Amazing, the fourth flies as well. Prophet has managed to make his way around the site. Sadism is thrown down. Burning Agony is trying to burn out Vizicsacsi. That's a very good equalizer, preventing a re-engage. Flash over the wall. Look at the damage onto Schalke. Despite the tower going down, Roccat get nothing yet.
Yeah, but Schalke committed everything to get the turret while taking some damage from Roccat, and that's why Roccat can then win the fight on the way out. It's going to be a turret for them as well. They're holding on. As long as you don't lose that Baron early, you can keep stalling.
First tower of the game picked up by Roccat, and Schalke have conceded Barons, surprisingly, this split already. So we've got to be very careful over these next few minutes.
Yeah, and you asked earlier, wait, there's a TP coming.
There is a TP coming. I can't quite see who this one is just yet. It is VandeR.
All right.
And Upset.
Just wanted to get it back clearly so they can start killing wards and place their own vision, but you asked earlier with Roccat, like, were they forced into this late game draft? And they weren't necessarily, but if you are looking at Schalke, you would remember one of the problems have been closing out games. Obviously not looking at the G2 one, which was clean.
Yeah, for the most part.
They've had, like, even against H2K, they had issues at the Baron. H2K actually punished them and made the game extremely close, and they relied on Chachi's Poppy ult to save them. So you might say, if you're on the side of Roccat, like, we are okay falling behind against Schalke, because we feel like there's going to be at least 1 or 2 chances to get back in the game. And if we can just out-team fight them, that's our way to win.
Well, out-team fighting is going to be a little more challenging at 6k down, but Vizicsacsi's equalizers have been a little questionable. The intents have been great. I want to make sure, keep an eye on just how pixel perfect they end up landing as the next few minutes play out. Fortunately, in the Baron pit and inside the jungle, it does get simplified significantly versus those side lanes.
So 2k if the goal lead is on Amazing right now with the tank. So Baron is being started. No one hit the ward, so you don't reveal anything just yet. Memento and the rest of the team came in. I think maybe the Blue Trinket just came down instantly and they're like, yep.
Although Deficio, Schalke have not made the best Baron calls all split long. It's been one of those questions where the team has not necessarily all been on the same page. Curtain Call used just to push them off the Baron, and it works. Now
Rocket's still delaying.
Yes.
They're still delaying this. They can kill the control ward now. Pressure Nukeduck away from top side because Schalke have lost the mid lane control. Like, I'm still feeling Roccat will get a bunch of late game fights. Dude, they will get their chances.
6k gold at 17 minutes is game defining. At 30 minutes, less impactful. And Roccat have still got the scaling, 49k to 43k. You can see the differences. Huge 2,000 gold advantage for Amazing because of the fact he's 3-1-3 for his team 6 kills. And then Upset doing a pretty good job with those 4 assists plus ADCS. And he's already got 3 completed items. Got himself Mirror Mana, Blade of the Rune King, and Triforce. But I think HeaQ with the BF Sword Rapid Fire Cannon, he's now starting to get that scary Hella Blades range.
But it's still the very expensive IH he needs to get here in 8-14, so he's still pretty far away from it. There's a couple of minutes where Schalke can fight her and HeaQ is not too strong. I think if they actually get a chance, I think if you are Schalke, that's what you should be looking for.
Oh, this is nerve-wracking. Amazing. Arctic Assault. It goes out of the pit. There's no flash available. Amazing was clearing out wards, but the equalizer comes down. Blanc is the focus to Amazing, and Vizicsacsi trying to run him down. VandeR goes up on the left-hand side. Realm Warp. That's a 5-man shockwave! Roccat destroy Schalke's HP bars. They are running for their lives.
There we go, baby!
Line and sink! Schalke no fear! Roccat get 3 kills, and they will turn back to Baron.
5 Schalke players just showed up. Blanc put down the ball. He hits the shockwave the moment the Ryze ulti connects. We said Roccat will get chances. We kept talking about, no, this is not over. They're going to get some fights, and they just got one. Biggest shockwave we've seen so far this split. They're going to get Baron because of it as well.
That might be one of the biggest shockwaves that we have ever seen, Deficio. The timing, 6k gold down, and to land it after the Realm Warp. This replay is absolutely Ace of Predator worthy.
All right, so it's actually split at first. I thought it was going to be a good fight for Schalke because they wanted to fight here. HeaQ is weak, Norskeren is out of the fight, but because they all 5 group here, 3,000 LP shockwave. Oh, it's beautiful. It is so beautiful.
Unreal. Blanc steps up, punishing Schalke's engage. And it was Schalke that committed to that. It was Schalke that started that fight.
Schalke stood up together and they got knocked down together right there. Baron for Roccat. IH now completed for HeaQ. Deathcap coming in for Blanc. We're full late game soon. And that is not what Schalke was hoping for when they got a 6k gold lead in the early game. But we kept mentioning, they struggle around Barons, and they would start losing that side lane against the Mundo, making it harder to push in all the lanes. Like, it buys more time for Roccat. They got all the time they need.
I'm getting a bit nervous about that. Schalke are the 4th best team in Europe discussion.
Hey, we said that to prove it.
They do have to prove it. And for Roccat, they have to prove they can play in a deficit. They've not been able to do it 6 times already. But this might be their best opportunity. They've got scaling on their side. They've got a side lane that has already been winning for several minutes. Now with Baron and 4,300 base hit points, Prophet will take that bottom outer turret, and Schalke, they're fishing for an opportunity.
And you know what? I'm looking at actually the Ezreal to now be suddenly the main carry for Schalke. Ryze against full tank comms is really hard to use properly in fights because most of your damage will get blocked. The skill shots will just get blocked by Mundo sitting there with like 4,000 HP and 200 MR, who doesn't care about the Ryze right now. So I'm looking at this double tier Ezreal, and it's been a while since Schalke had to rely on an AD carry to win them the games.
Especially when you look at Upset's champion pool in recent weeks. You know, did lean into those bruises and those mages. You talk about Nukeduck, you talk about Upset, turn our attention very quickly to Blanc. That Shockwave, Deficio, I think you called it the 3000 LP. I want to upgrade it a little bit, because he dealt over 5,000 damage with that Shockwave. So that is beyond ridiculous. HeaQ using that Hail of Blades.
At the moment he did it.
Yep.
Like, if you lose that fight, your team split. Your dual lane, Norskeren and HeaQ, are knocked over on the other side of a wall. You're effectively playing 3v5. If you lose that fight, you lose Baron, the game is probably over. And then he hits a 5-man Shockwave and gets you the Baron instead. They're now killing the mid lane turret. They're almost evening out the gold now.
It's 33 minutes almost on the clock, and Roccat are only behind 3,000 gold. The stats that'll be given thanks to Baron definitely will make up that gold deficit. And
my God, could they win a game while being
behind? It has not happened yet, but Deficio, they may have the best chance they've had all
I'm so happy we talked about all those things that didn't just say the game was over.
It's just interesting, and it is fun when you do a lot of prep and you look into the teams and you look at the standings, the stakes, the play styles, and the consistent Roccat, who win when ahead, lose from behind, for the first time are giving us reason to doubt that consistency.
And I just want to hear from the team after if going for the late game combo against Schalke was 100% what they were aiming for, because they knew Schalke could struggle closing out games. Like, if that was a thing or not, because it actually is working right now.
Dude, surely nobody's going to kill Prophet. Randuin's, Warmog's, Bird Visage, like, there's not much more tanky that this guy can get.
So if you can't really kill the front line, you have to reach the back line with Rumble ult, with a ult from Nukeduck to actually get in and start hitting some of the squishy spine. But again, the Hail of Blades Jhin, as long as HeaQ doesn't get chain CC'd, he's flying around the map. So he's not going to be an easy target to hit in the back line. Blanc might be the only one they can aim for. There's Cleanse on his side, and there is Norskeren on Tahm Kench. So this Roccat comp is just built to have massive meat wall in the front and protection in the back.
But Deficio, to my play-by-play brain, it also means there's only the 2 damage sources. So if that backline can get secured, look, Mundo will survive a long time, but he's going to need a lot longer to kill multiple members of Schalke if he's the last one standing. Rockat's Baron buff has worn out. Doesn't matter. They've grouped up as 5. Prophet is coming in from the north, and the 5-man stack of Schalke Nulfia are trying to defend their inner bottom lane turret. Look at the Shockwave ball. Prophet is currently being focused. Sadism is being thrown down, and he cares not a jot. Shockwave catches 3. Arcane shift from Upset keeps him alive, and the tower is still standing. Rockat's focus is somewhat split. Blanc is staying on the tower. Glacial Fissure comes down, and Prophet, now no ultimate available, devoured by Norskeren, and the battle for Norway continues. Norskeren trying to push forward, Nukeduck trying to hold him back.
But Prophet does not care, he has Warmox as well, so the moment the fight is over, he just gets all the HP back, and there's even that time Kench saving him. Schalke just tried to invest almost everything they had on killing this Mundo. We need to see that tier get upgraded from Upset, and it's to be fully stacked out. He needs to max out on items so he can actually kill this Mundo, because it will take too long right now for him to deal with the front line.
We have an even game. It is 60,000 gold apiece. Roccat have clawed back a 7,000 gold disadvantage.
Late game kings.
And we are into the late game kings territory. This Roccat squad, this talent factory, they found some new members. And you know what? They're putting on one hell of a show today.
And if they win this game, I'm just going to say it's the biggest win they've had all year long. Not because of Schalke, but because of the fact that you cannot afford to lose this team close to you in the standings, and because you drafted a late game comp, fell behind 6k gold, and then you actually still managed to get back in the game. That is such a big turnaround.
And on the back of a shockwave from Blanc, punishing the engage, that one game-changing moment. Okay. Right, Elder Dragon is up right now. Baron is up in 30 seconds. Both teams are poising around the objectives.
Nukeduck is pushing right now. Where can he TP to? The wards is near the mid lane that he can actually join. He's ulting, I believe, with the minions towards the inhib turret on top side. So
developing it. This is the base race to Deficio. I want you to tell me if you like it or not.
Well, remember, Roccat has no drakes, so this is not a strong Elder Drake for him. Amazing, so steal, he gets
He
it!
steals it! Amazing with the smite! He manages to flash out. It's not done yet. Nukeduck is pushing in the
I like
base.
the calls, Trevor.
Already on the inhibitor. Elder Dragon stolen. Inhibitor secured in just a few more autos.
Baron is now alive. Look at all of Roccat. They're running back to the base to stop Nukeduck, but the Baron is here. Let's see TPs. HeaQ there, Prophet ready. Tahm Kench ult is not ready, so they can't get to the Baron fast enough. Schalke with the Elder Drake will get Baron as well.
Deficio are Roccat cursed. They were behind at 15 minutes. They were poised to win their first game with a deficit. And now, just like that, in the blink of an eye, Schalke take everything amazing with the fist bump, and we're right back at where we started.
Not cursed, but not reacting in the moment to what's happening. Schalke says, if we lose this Drake, it doesn't matter. They don't have any Drakes to actually buff up the Elder Drake buff here. We can trade this for an inhib. It's okay. Roccat needs to realize that's happening and turn and fight. 4v5, get in there, force Nukeduck to TP down. Don't try and risk a 50-50 Elder Drake when you're not gaining anything. You have no Drakes. Oh, so much praise for them before. So much build-up, and then Schalke says, we can lose this Drake, we can get something, and Rocket's answer was turn and fight, but they didn't, Trevor, they didn't turn and fight.
Deficio last week, or 2 weeks ago, was a Vizicsacsi Poppy ultimate at Elder Dragon. This week, it is Amazing with a smite steal at Elder Dragon. If Amazing is not on the player of the game vote, he has been robbed. Still 100% kill participation, still leading Schalke this game.
So we're learning when Schalke struggles at Baron, they will just take the Elder Drake instead.
Here we go.
Without starting the Elder Drake, they'll steal it away from you, and then they will win the game.
All right, now let's take a look. Super's in the top lane. Double super mega ultra buff with Baron and a 2-stack Elder. Nukeduck is shoving on the bottom lane. Upset is hammering away at the mid lane inhibitor turret. It will be dropped in just a moment. Supers are already in the base. Amazing is ushering them to the Nexus. That's the base starting to crumble. Roccat, they need to pick an area. They need to pick a fight. That's a Nexus turret falling. And Schalke, they might just be pushing for the win.
Well, let's see. At least get the mid inhib now. If they can get bottom inhib as well, plus the one Nexus turret going down, then it looks almost impossible to defend for Roccat, but they need an engage. Body Slam Flash Memento is available, but he's not been using it so far. Didn't use it at the Elder Drake either, and we're kind of still waiting for him to try and start a fight. He's the only one with the hard engage.
Oh, and look at this. The third inhibitor's going to fall. VandeR throws up the Unbreakable. Couple more shots from this cannon minions, all it's going to take. And there we go, the inhibitor, make it 3 shots instead. It is down, Schalke. All right, they're committing for this final push.
And now they can slow down. They can just wait for all these minions. Remember, there's not any any super minions from the bottom side just yet. I think the mid lane just came in from the one they killed earlier. It's the next wave.
Yes.
So it's not fully ready yet, but they're getting some damage on the turret, and we're still looking at Memento. If he's not finding the engage, I feel like Blanc has to pull off another massive shockwave.
Oh man, the tension is building. Memento body slams onto the cannon minions. That's definitely not what you need to use it on. Wait for that cooldown to come back up. Supers will just start pouring into the base. The first wave of doubles is the next one, I believe. Cannon minions are already taking down the Nexus turret. And there we go, doubles through the middle lane. They'll be coming to the top shortly. Equalizer goes down, pushing away HeaQ. Blanc is already dead before he can can find another shockwave. The Nexus turrets are focused down. Schalke are defeating Roccat. They're going to pick up a couple more kills, pad those stats, get the fantasy points. Prophet's running for his life. Schalke no fear, led by Amazing, take down Roccat.
Whoa! This game, what a roller coaster of emotions. All started with, wow, Amazing start is fantastic. Schalke are crushing this late game. Rocket's late game doesn't work. They get the huge play at Baron. We thought they were winning.
Look at the faces of Roccat.
Oh my God, and I kept saying it during the game, but this was, in my opinion, the most important game for Roccat to win. Get even with Schalke, great for tiebreaker, win with the late game comp, went behind at 15 for the first time. It was all there. We started setting it up. We almost celebrated. But that Elder Drake call was so good from Schalke, and there was one play from Roccat against it. Fight 4 versus 5, and they did not do it. They stayed at the Elder Drake. They committed to a 50-50 smite, and when that backfired, that was game.
In the battle for Norway, Nukeduck takes down Norskeren.
With his 0-0-2 Ryze.
Counts. And the man on your screen right now, Amazing, with a phenomenal performance from the very first gank to the Elder Dragon steal.
I also like Chachi Rumble.
It was a good team performance. It was led by Amazing.
Oh, I mean,
But as Schalke, they played it with the exception of one shockwave. It was a great game.
It was. But that was the thing. Roccat looked for that opportunity. They got it. They pulled the trigger. They won the game, but you are so destroyed now. You were down and out.
Yep.
You pull back. You think this is the moment you're going to win. And then it all backfires.
You can feel the emotion. You can see the emotion. Roccat are still one of the more consistent teams. It's a weird one to wrap your mind around, Deficio, but with a deficit of 15 minutes, they still lost the game. That does not tell the story of this game in the slightest.
But we know now that the current standings, with Splice winning earlier today and with Schalke winning this game, Roccat is currently outside of the top 6. No longer tied. They're sitting at 6 wins, 7 losses.
Hold that thought for now, because you guys at home, you jump on Twitter, vote for player of the game at LOL Esports. It is, of course, Nukeduck, VandeR, and who I'll be voting for. Amazing. Let us know who you think. And with them outside of the top 6, Deficio, do you think they'll catch back in? Hold that thought. We'll ask a little bit later. From one Schalke's win, let's head to the analyst desk.
Thank you so much, Quickshot. We talked so much about how important this game was if we look at the standings and if we look at the race for playoffs. And in that regard, I can completely understand what Norskeren, is feeling right now, because these are the kind of games you look back on if you don't make it in the end and you think we should have won that game. And in the same vein for Schalke, this will be very important for them that they were able to drive it home.
Yeah, and Splice won earlier today. So absolutely, you look back on this one, absolute heartbreak.
Absolute heartbreaker. Let's see what it turned out to if we look at the picks and bans. Straight from the beginning, now very often we want to see proactiveness from Roccat in the early game, but Schalke said we're not going to let you have that.
Yeah, I mean, I absolutely loved the initial draft from Schalke. The 3 bans in the jungle, Camille, Kindred, and the Trundle have all been some of Memento's best champions, and that sets up for the first pick, Sejuani, which Amazing is very, very comfortable on, and clearly had a good performance in this game.
I do like that Memento then went for the Gragas, because it's still something that you can make something happen with early, not necessarily force Sejuani out of her jungle, but you can go visit your lanes. However, something else we've said about Roccat is we don't like to see them on passiveness all around, and there are some elements there that need some scaling.
Right, we saw them do something very similar against Vitality last week, where they drafted picks like Azir and Vladimir and tried to play for late game. And again, I'm not a huge fan. This is not the time to diversify your strategies.
Yep.
When you're fighting to just make it into playoffs, they need to stick to the tried and true. And even though it almost worked out, I think they would have looked a lot better on something more comfortable.
But I think when we say almost worked out, yes, Roccat could have won this game, perhaps even should have won that game. I mean, it really only came down to that one good play that Blanc made around the Baron pit. I don't think they were in control of this game at any point, really. And it's like, for me, I want to touch a bit more on Memento specifically in the Gragas, because I think that he's one of these guys that we highlight a lot and we say, Memento, a really good player, really solid player. When Roccat win, Memento looks great. We saw him earlier in the day, the MVP votes. He gets loads of them, because when he's on, Roccat really benefits. But, I mean, yes, you face 3 bans. That's fine. You're kind of forced back a little bit deeper into your champion pool. Gragas, I think, is a good pick, but even within the game, he went for Cinderhulk Gragas, which we don't see much of at all. And when I was talking to some, when I was racking my insider information, talking to names I can't name because they're all really secret players.
Secret agent,
You know, when I talked about the viability of Gragas coming through when he got his most recent buffs, I was like, Cinderhulk Runic Echoes. And they're like, you won't see Cinderhulk Gragas. And I think that, not to say Memento, mate, you're silly boy, why are you doing Cinderhulk Gragas? But it just doesn't play into what we want to see, especially. Well, where's the early game? Where's that pressure? Where is, if you want to bring it to the enemy team and you want to do Memento things, if you're going for the Gragas, I think you can lean more into that. And I don't think his item build did that.
Well, on the other side, it is also the fact that Amazing was very prepared for his early game and knew exactly where he had to go with his Sejuani.
Yeah, it was really impressive from him because his entire early game pathing was focused around the top side of the map, from just putting down good vision, counter jungling away from the Krugs. He was always there to protect Prophet, or actually to try and shut Prophet down, protect Vizicsacsi, because the only lane that I think Memento could really gank would have been a hard pushing Rumble early on, and that just never happened because of the vision control you see throughout that river, and then this eventual roam here from Nukeduck to dive onto Prophet.
Yeah, there they go. We see wonderful setup, knowing that they want to shut him down, and you know you don't want to let that Mundo run out of control. We saw it with Odoamne just a couple of weeks ago, who got absolutely shut down. But this is really where they have to put their attention.
Yeah, exactly like you mentioned. You said maybe protecting Vizicsacsi. I say more enabling Vizicsacsi. This is one of your players who absolutely can have MVP performances. He was an MVP last year. And Vizicsacsi can take over games. Rumble as a champion you can take over as well, just as a champion pick. And I really think that Schalke saw that as their opportunity this game to really take this game, and they executed it really, really well. You saw the whole team was involved in that, but obviously, credit to Amazing, he had a phenomenal game.
Daddy did. I like that you said at the beginning of this, okay, we're talking about Roccat and about the heartbreak, but it wasn't really anything outside of that Blanc Orianna ultimate. Now, it was beautiful, so I do want to take another look at it, because this was almost where they turned around the game, and I think it's kind of weird that Amazing is there all by himself.
Yeah, Amazing gets caught out at first, but then the rest of Schalke want to come in for the fight. What you don't see is there's a ball on the ground right underneath this Realm Warp that catches all 5 members of Schalke when they enter into the pit and actually just tears them apart.
It is so, so beautiful. Just everything about that is just sublime watching that. Maybe, you know, this is where if you're in solo queue, everyone starts spam pinging Nukeduck there, Realm Warp.
Hey,
what
they
doing,
all
mate?
jumped in. They all opted into
course,
that
but
play.
that is solo queue, mate. You don't look at yourself and self-blame. It's always on the person who made it happen. But, I mean, it was sublime, beautiful, fantastic stuff. Love to see it. But like you said as well, not really much outside of that play that really went in Rockat's
Well, we
favor.
see that immediately right after when the contestation comes up for the Elder Drake, and I think Roccat probably make all the wrong decisions, and Schalke plays it out exactly the way they should, even though it is a steal.
Yeah,
though.
this is so tough because Memento has the cask. He should knock Amazing away right when it gets around to 3,000 HP, but Amazing tosses out his ultimate to CC lock Prophet, get into the pit, and there's just no explosive cask to knock him out.
So let me ask you, meanwhile, we see that Ryze was already top lane and he was pushing, it was close to that inhibitor, and we know that there weren't any Drakes for Roccat to amplify if they got that Elder Dragon, so what should they have done before this moment?
Well, again, I think you can actually go for this Elder Drake. You just have to be able to set up and secure the objective. You can't make it a 50-50, and that's why I'm still waiting for that explosive cast to knock him away.
Okay.
I just would have loved to see an engage, honestly.
Yeah.
I just think just go for it. I mean, you don't necessarily have to secure the Elder Dragon, as Deficio mentioned on the cast. You have no dragons. Like, it's not going to be a huge benefit to you. You're mostly taking it to take it away from Schalke. And so just fight them. You saw Ryze in the top lane. He's hammering on your base. You're in that 4v5. You have good hard engage. Hard engage.
Yeah, and I think it's especially tough after that point, too, because then they immediately give up the Baron buff, which I think is another little bit of a mistake, because when you're against those two
a little bit
plays,
of a mistake, did
yeah,
you just
like,
say? Can I just pick your wording there?
Yeah,
Really,
I mean,
little bit of a
how do
mistake.
you actually fight against that? It's not possible, because the only way they're going to win a fight is a 5-man shockwave.
Just going to say, if something becomes into impossible territory, I rank that slightly higher than a little bit of a mistake. Just throwing that out there.
I see what you mean. It's like when people go into a base race and like, you shouldn't have gotten in this position anyway, so you might lose it out. But in this case, Schalke made the right decision. Schalke had a good draft and made the early game moves and shut down Roccat, which I think informed the rest of the game. Unfortunately for Roccat, that is a loss and a big win for Schalke on the other side. I want to pull up the standings as this playoff race is so important, because With this loss, Roccat now finds himself outside of playoffs, and FC Schalke 04 finds himself stronger in that 4th place position, where I think we have to start shifting the conversation to, hey, are they the 3rd best team in Europe?
I think it's totally valid to say that right now. After they took out G2 last week fairly convincingly, they're looking pretty strong all around, and especially now that a player like Amazing, who I've criticized throughout the season, stepped up that much in the last game, they're looking a lot more well-rounded.
Yeah, I would say that the question about whether Schalke is good is kind of being answered. Yes, I think Schalke is a good team. For me, the question more, if they deserve to be a top 3 team, is, okay, what do we have with G2 now? Because they've looked so alien from their early performances. It's like night and day, really.
They're 2-4 since Rift Rivals.
There you go. That's pretty poor for
And
a team that was undefeated before that. Exactly. So I really think that Schalke's answered the question. Now it's up to G2 to answer it too.
In the next one, player of the game for this one was Amazing. You guys voted for the jungler, 65% of the votes. That's got to feel good for him as well. He came into that team, and as we say, we talk about Schalke now in the narrative of they're a good team. That's not even something we were able to say in spring or even before that. So it's up to them to now take the next step and see if they can shake up that top 3, if they can go above G2 Esports or beyond, but they have to keep it going.
It's always been a team with very high expectations, and nothing changed when they brought in, a very almost legendary jungler in the sense that he's been around for a very long time, played on a ton of historic organizations, and always been near the top. So I definitely think that this is the time for them to sort of prove themselves here in EU.
Wow, we are on the hype train of Schalke 04. Unfortunately for Roccat, they will have to win a lot in the next couple of weeks. But after the break, we will hear from Jankos as he and the rest of G2 Esports look to shake things up against H2K. See you in 3.5.
Now Chachi, overheating, turns his attention to the bush, survives a few seconds longer, burns down HeaQ, but not enough for the kill. Now Nukeduck tries to get something back. Prophet goes golden, using the stopwatch, buying just enough time. But look at the teleports, 3 of them on screen. Upset and VandeR are coming to play. That's already another one for Memento. That's a 5-man shockwave! Roccat destroy Schalke's HP bars. They are running for their lives.
There we go, baby!
Hook, line, and sink! Schalke 04! Roccat get 3 kills. Or not.
Well, remember, Roccat has no Drakes, so this is not a strong Elder Drake for them. Amazing is trying to steal it, gets
He
it!
steals it! Amazing with the smite! He manages to flash out, it's not done yet. Roccat, they're gonna pick up a couple more kills, pad those stats, get the fantasy points. Prophet's running for his life. Schalke 04, led by Amazing, take down Roccat.